Great seeing you here again. My name is Ludwig Koster, founder of the Koster Academy, and I welcome you again in one of our Map Survival Guide videos. In this video, I will continue with the intersection of two lines, and in this case, we're going to use the standard equation ax plus by is equal to c. But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. So let's have a look what we are going to do in this video. So we're going to find the intersection of two lines when the equation has been written in the standard form ax plus by is equal to c. The thing that we have to understand is that two equations, a1x plus b1 y is equal to c1 and a2x plus b2y is equal to c2, they are in fact perpendicular, they have an intersection point when there are some conditions to follow. It's very important to see that for the first line we can calculate the slope m1, which is minus a1 divided by b1. For the second line, we have the slope m2, which is minus a2 divided by b2. And we find an intersection point, x1 and y1, when we have different slopes. So when slope m1 is not equal to slope m2, then we can have, or we will have, an intersection point. And that's very important to understand that we have to verify that those two slopes are different. If they are not different, then we have to conclude when they're equal, it means that then the lines are parallel, and parallel have no intersection point. So let's have a look at finding that intersection point using those two lines, and we're using the substitution method. We have the same equations, a1x plus b1y is equal to c1. And we have here the first element that we can write is to find the value of x as a function of y. So we look at the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. So we can say that when we bring b1y to the right hand side, we can replace this equation a1x is c1 minus b1y. We find from this that x is c1 minus b1 divided by y. We can say that x is c1 minus b1y divided by a1. So now we have x as an expression of y. And what we do with this is we replace this value of x in the second equation. So what we do now is we say that a2x, and we replace x by c1 minus b1 divided by, c1 minus b1 times y divided by a1, and plus b2y is equal to c2. And what we see here, we only have y as an unknown in this equation. All the other parameters are known, a2, a1, b1, b2, c1, and c2. We work on this expression, so by doing the multiplication, and we find a2 divided by a1 times c1, minus a2 times b1 divided by a1 times y, plus b2 times y is c2, and we see that we have y as only variable here, unknown parameter. So what we have to do is to bring y to the left-hand side and all the other parameters to the right-hand side. So we now find b2 minus a2b1 divided by a1 times y is c2 minus a2 divided by a1 times c1. So we have a parameter, a factor times y, and we have a constant factor in the right-hand side. So the only thing what we have to do is to divide the right-hand side by the coefficient of y. And that's what we're going to do now. So we have the original expression again that we've just found. We divide both sides by b2 minus a2b1 divided by a1. And we find the value of y, which is c2 minus a2 divided by a1 times c1. And this divided by b2 minus a2, a1 times b1. Now we see that we have a1 in the denominator, and we can now use it. We can simplify this if we want, but we can use this parameter to find the value of x. The next thing we do is to put that value that we found of y, we put it in x, so we find c1 minus by1 divided by a. So we just replace the value of y that we found in the equation at the left in this expression, and we find x1. So we replace y1 and we find the two coordinates x1, y1 of the intersection point. And now we have to apply the control to verify if we found the correct intersection point. So now let's have a look at an exercise. We're going to look at two curves, two lines. The first line is 3x plus 2y is equal to 6, which has a negative slope. And then we have 5x minus 5y is 15, which has a positive slope. Now we already see, because the slopes have a different sign, we automatically know that m1 is not equal to m2. Now when we have those two expressions, we know for the first one that m1 is minus 3/2, and for the second expression we know that m2 is 5/4. Based on this and what we already saw before, we know that the two slopes are in fact different, and we will have an intersection point on between those two lines. Now we continue with the exercise. Here we have the 3x plus 2y is equal to 6, so we start with the substitution method. We bring 3x to the left hand side, or we keep it in the left hand side, and we bring 2y to the right hand side. So we find 3x is 6 minus 2y, which gives us an expression of x, which is 6 minus 2y divided by 3. And we replace this value in the second equation. So we put x equal to 6 minus 2 times y divided by 3 in this equation. So what we find, we have 4 times 6 minus 2y divided by 3 minus 5y is equal to 15. Then we find the calculation. We multiply everything by 4 on the left hand side. We find 24/3 minus 8 divided by 3 times y minus 5 times y is equal to 15. I would be able to simplify 24 divided by 3, but I will not do that. It's not really important at this moment. It's better to keep it like this for the further calculations. So we find that 8/3 y plus 5 times y is 24 divided by 3 minus 15. So we find here y is 8/3 plus 5 is minus 21 divided by 3. And we can calculate here, when we complete this operation, we can say that y is minus 21 over 23. That's the first element that we have, and we can say that in this case we found this first parameter, the first element coordinate of the intercept. Now we put this in the expression of x, so we replace y by minus 21 over 23, and we see that x is 6 minus 2 times minus 21 over 23 divided by 3, which gives us x is 6 plus 2 times 21 divided by 23, and I can divide by 3, so I do the division by 3, so 6 becomes 2, and 21 becomes 7, which makes it a little bit easier for the following calculations. So we find that x is 2 times 23 plus 2 times 7 divided by 23, and we have to bring 2 to the same denominator, so we have to multiply it by 23, and we find here 46 plus 14 divided by 23, which is equal to 60 divided by 23. So we found the second coordinate. The only thing that we still have to do now is to verify if these are correct by replacing x and y in both of the equations to see that we find the solution. Now we have the control of the solution, and we have the coordinates x is 60 divided by 23, and y is minus 21 divided by 23. We find in the first equation 3x plus 2y is equal to 6. So we say 3 times 60 divided by 23 plus 2 times minus 21 over 23. Is that equal to 6? So we have to prove that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So let's do the calculations here. We have in the first element 180 divided by 23 minus 42 divided by 23. And we can do the calculations. So we have 138 divided by 23. Is that equal to 6? Well, if we do the calculation, we'll see that the left-hand side and the right-hand side are equal, which means that the solution, the 60 over 23 and minus 21 over 23, are solutions for the first equation. Now we have to verify for the second equation. So we have 4x minus 5y is 15. What we have to do here is the same thing. So we replace x and y by their values. And we find 4 times 60 divided by 23 minus 5 times minus 21 over 23 is that equal to 15. So we have 240 plus 105 divided by 23 on the left-hand side, which is 345 divided by 23. And when we divide this is equal to 15, which means that we found the solution. So in this case, we can say that the final conclusion is that 60 over 23 and minus 21 over 23 is the intersection point of two lines. And that's all we had to do. So that's it for this video. You see it's a little bit more complex when we have the lines in the standard equation ax plus by is equal to c. It's like it is. There are other solutions that we can use, but we will look into that later. Anyway, this is it for this video. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time YouTube has a new video, when we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. So that's it for this video. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next videos. Bye-bye.